Remember those warm summer days by the lake? Remember taking a nice cool dive in the water? Pepperidge Farm members and SolidSol. Those were the days, weren't they? Warlord players with a god complex using one of the most abusable and annoying moves in the game. I'll tell you what, you know you have an addiction when you keep coming back to this shit. I implore you, get some help! It's so fun. Warlord used to be a very popular hero in For Honor despite his very standard moveset consisting of just the plain old fundamental basics in For Honor. He had 2 chain hits, a headbutt, a full block, crushing counters, and at face value he was a very bare bones hero compared to the new heroes that we're getting right now. Yet there were a plethora of people that played him and a majority of players who absolutely despised him. Why is that though? What a good looking question. Well, let me tell you, Jimmy. My man had the easiest, cheesiest, and most infuriating kill tool, and always, 95% of the time, would always teabag you, with the best teabag emote if I do say so myself, the best teabag emote in the entire game. If you guys know a better one, you better let me know down below, because I think his tops it all. Crashing charge, oh boy, you mean to say that slow running bash he has? That move is useless now. Well yeah, it's useless. Back when the devs didn't nerf it, it reigned supreme in so many maps. They had to change a ton of map design just so that you wouldn't get crashing charged or just killed in one hit so easily. And don't even get me started on the old maps where there are ledges on some of the points. I'm starting to think the people who cry about baby proofing or advocating for more spikes and ledges are people who only want to cheese in this game and just play Warlord. And hey, I'm all for dicking around in this game, as not everybody wants to be sweating ball sacks, but imagine putting an unfun mechanic in a game where games are designed for you to have fun. I'm serious though, Ubisoft nerfing his overpowered crashing charge that could easily kill anybody with no skill, and then all of a sudden, you don't see Warlords anymore. You don't see any of them. There's probably like 1 or 2.
Coincidence? I think not!
Ubisoft took away a tool to get easy kills and people stopped playing him. It's simple as that. It's the result of taking away an overpowered tool and seeing all the players who thought they could get easy kills leave the hero and move on to more monkey brain pirate hero. Ever since he had gotten his crashing charge nerf, I'd see less and less of him every day. Obviously, there are players who actually did enjoy playing him, like myself, pardon my French, and they enjoyed him because of his moveset, which is surprisingly fun to use, I promise you. He has satisfying heavies, hyper armor, great executions, and a really fun full block that has quite a bit of utility to it. It's not like overpowered or incredibly game-changing, but it's fun to use, and you can put some serious pressure on your opponents with some fun mix-ups if you make some good reads. But you can't lie to me that this sound isn't satisfying. So why do people hate Warlord? Simple answer. It's trauma. PTSD from being cheated on by a cheesy mechanic. I once had a conversation with someone and I asked him, why do you hate Warlord, my man? Why do you hate him so much? You know what he told me? Because all Warlord players are the same. They teabag and ledge you, and I'll never get over that no matter what. I was shooketh. And so I responded, so basically, you're just salty. There was no use in arguing that not every Warlord will ledge you and teabag you every single game in Dominion. That's just how it is. Some people are different. Some people are honorable in 4v4. I mean, sure, the majority of players in Dominion will do that in that game mode, but you shouldn't generalize that to all players and all people who just play a certain hero because they want to have fun. In duels, there's plenty of players that actually don't try to ledge you or cheese you and one-shot you with some simple ledge mechanic. And that goes for Warlord players or Lawbringer players, and most of the time if they do accidentally ledge you, they'll say sorry, not ironically, of course, but in a very apologetic way, because once you take away someone's life points in a one shot, they know that, you know, it's not as satisfying as actually parrying somebody and taking a little bit of skill into the game. In Dominion, yes, you should play to win, and you should always do whatever you can, like dodge rolling and externaling and all that good stuff. But the main thing is that you should be blaming Ubisoft for their, you know, their crappy map design. There's ledges everywhere, and for you to position and be 100% perfect all the time is just impossible. And with Warlord and his easy access to his great throw, you're always going to get ledged one way or another, or at least once in a game. But the thing is, it's just sad to always have that sort of mindset for a Warlord player in general. Some people will never be healed, no matter what someone has done to them in the past. Forgive and forget, baby. Those are wise words from the box of the water. So what did they nerf that made Warlord players think he's still a bad hero, when in fact he's a considerably strong hero even in this roster? Let me go into detail on why he's still a strong pick even against the new reworks after I talk about his Crashing Charge nerf. Now, way back when, Crashing Charge used to be 500 MS, which was, you know, for most players, required a read to dodge. They slowed it down to 600 MS and made it so that you couldn't chain it over and over again to bully your opponents. Probably one of the dumbest things to exist, I'm not gonna lie to you, next to Warden's one-hit kill exploit that existed like 5 years ago. Man, I'm old. Now 500 MS attacks in general are no real issue, at least on PC and even on new-gen consoles, but combined with super armor or uninterruptible stance and the ability to use it again and again as a 50-50, that is when we start having problems. And also, it didn't really cost so much stamina too, so you could spam that around in 4v4 and just keep running around and get wall splats and land a heavy attack. Remember when you're out of stamina and the Warlord would just unlock and sprint at you with Crashing Charge, or just stop to GB you because you had a dodge on read? That was AIDS and made him incredibly powerful in duels and Dominion. In duels it was a little bit easier to deal with, but it was so monotonous and tedious to fight. Given how much walls there are in this game, it was a very, very viable move to use. 9 times out of 10, maybe 8 times out of 10, I'll give you guys that. There was always going to be a wall. That's why Lawbringer was so good in duels, because most of the time there's going to be walls. And the only map that I can really think of that didn't really have walls is the Sanctuary map. His wall throw punishes were insanely good, and his heavy damages were incredibly high back at the time. His heavies used to be 35 damage for his side ones, neutral ones are 30 damage, I believe, so those were not bad damage values at all. Back in the day, it didn't really matter how much offensive pressure you had, what mattered was how much damage you could output on a certain hero within like the quickest amount of time. And since Warlord had really good wall throw punishes, landing 35 damage on a single wall splat, that made him a very strong pick. Included with hyper armor, crushing counters as a defensive utility, it's nothing to scoff at. He's a very plain, boring hero, but he's incredibly strong in all of those regards when you put them together. Now, Crashing Charge was a serious nuisance in duels, but in 4v4, this was like being placed in the Eclipse from Berserk, I kid you not. Except, you aren't Guts. You are just some random ass soldier that was dumb enough to enlist. But in some ways, if you think about it, it's even worse being Guts, so take that as you will. I mean, come on, just look at all of these maps. I would say, if not all of them, has a certain ledge where Warlord can take advantage when it comes to position and utilizing his max throw distance. And just to humor you, we'll go over some of the maps just to prove my point. Forge with its melting lava and ball crushers. Shards with its fire pit smacked right in the middle for some godforsaken reason, and a pool to jump into. Involuntarily, of course, when set on fire. And let's not forget the spikes on point A. Definitely a really good selling point when you're trying to resell your castle. Overwatch back then used to have these trenches open until they decided it should only be open when the team starts breaking. Still, we endured that for a really long time, maybe 3 or 4 years. Riverfort has ledges on half of the map on point A. Mid lane used to have easy access to the trenches as well, where Lawbringers and Warlords would easily just ledge you. By fort, don't go to point C when you see 2 Warlords there. I'll tell you what, there's no escape for you. Temple Garden point C is also the nesting ground, or should I say, the breeding grounds for the teabagging Warlords. It got reworked, but I still think it's an incredibly easy place to get ledges with Warlord. Need I say more? For years, Warlord he's been king of the ledges even after said baby proofing the maps. There's tons of ways to still get easy kills with them, it's just that you actually have to work a little bit harder for it now instead of playing drunk the whole time or just having your monitor off. And keep in mind, these are just the Dominion maps. There are even more hazards in the old duels, brawls, and elimination matches, but since those are dead game modes and nobody really plays them even after crossplay, nobody really talks about it, nobody really complains about it. Once Ubisoft decided you needed some skill to play some Warlord, everybody stopped playing him. And it's really funny that once option selects were removed from the game, tons of high-level players stopped playing too. I mean, I've seen streamers and YouTubers like Baraki and Toadmine who play ranked against the top 100 players, and even though my man's picking Raider or Berserker or even a good hero, it seems to me that whenever someone else picks Warlord, that's when they start having to pick up their game and have to take it a little bit seriously, because they're not going to be able to dodge those headbutts all the time. Raider is still one of the best heroes in the game, but Warlord, I honestly think Warlord is a decent counter. I wouldn't say counter, but he has really good tools to deal with Raider. It just goes to show that, Warlord's still a skill-based hero, and he has amazing tools, to keep him being one of the strongest duelists. But do all these traits like hyper armor, crushing counters, a fast 500 ms headbutt, and a hilarious forward heavy jumping attack, which can be used in some situations as a hilarious option select, do all of these traits help him become a strong 4v4 hero? Yes. Yes, it does. I think one of the main reasons people don't like using Warlord is because his fashion is just absolutely dog shit, except for maybe a few torso pieces and some ornaments here and there. And let's not forget about the cool swords and shields. But he also only has 2 chain hits, which is a light into heavy or a light into light. And a lot of heroes, they need to be more fun, and the way you incorporate fun is to let us mash buttons and make sure that the other player is also having fun while you're throwing attacks, unlike Pirate. Now, one thing I want to emphasize is that when they did nerf Crashing Charge, they were also going to be nerfing option selects in general, and Warlord had some pretty good option selects. His zone was a really good option select that was undodgeable, 600 ms, and that doesn't really matter because it was still an option select. He had a headbutt option select with his bash, and he also had GB option select, which a lot of people already had that in general. All you had to do was utilize that. But since he lost all of those defensive mechanics, his offensive capabilities just result into headbutting and using his crushing counters whenever he could. And I feel like that brought him down in line to just make him into a more frustrating hero to use, because you're stuck with only using one simple attack or just a few couple attacks compared to the rest of the heroes that were more viable. He doesn't have any chain unblockable heavy finishers, no mix-ups after using a zone, which most heroes are getting nowadays, where they can zone attack and go into light or heavy, it can go into a bash, and in general he's just a very old hero. Why do you think people are playing Pirates so much? 9 times out of 10 I will see at least 2 Pirates in my game, or at least 1, but there's always more than 2 Pirates, and for some reason it seems to be a lot of console players that just play Pirate. I don't know why, but Pirate is one of the heroes that actually does give me trouble, and that's one of the heroes that I will have trouble facing when I fight up against old gen console player or even a new gen console player, which new gen console players are pretty much in line with PC players, because you're still going to have to making reads on those mix-ups. And so when everything is already equal footing, equal skill, the hero pick is what matters the most. If I'm picking a hero like Kensei, or a top tier hero like Blackfire, Warlord, Janhu, Shinobi, and maybe even Orochi or Raider, I'm gonna do fine against any other top tier picks when I'm up against like an old gen console player or a new gen console player. But if I'm using a dog shit tier hero, then I'm pretty much gonna have to say goodbye to my KD ratio and play the game, let's watch all my teammates die. And so when it comes to comparing Pirate and Warlord, Pirate, you can just throw out a bunch of moves and just dink around whenever you want to. There's just so much things you can do with that hero. Although I will say it's not as fun being on the receiving end compared to Warlord, since he only has 2 chain hits and his ability to continue chain pressure just stops after 1 headbutt, and even after 1 light attack or heavy attack, whereas Pirate can continue her chain until she runs out of stamina, and this is a very scary mix-up with her unblockable heavy finishers. She has an answer to everything with her dodge recoveries, compared to Warlord. If he does a light or heavy attack, you know that he's pretty much done. If he does a headbutt, you know he's done afterwards, and you can continue your pressure after. But with all of this in mind, is he still a good hero in 4v4? And the answer is yes. Crushing counters are great for defensive mechanics. Heroes that actually have crushing counters, they have another tool to option select. That goes the same with people who can have a dodge attack. You can just external dodge attacks people's unblockables or people's bashes. His bash is still incredibly fast, good for 1v1s, and pretty good for 2v2s too, or team fights. It just depends on when you want to use it, and you gotta be careful to get interrupted. Although I will say with his most recent buff, which was a couple seasons ago, he does have incredibly good recoveries, probably one of the best recoveries in the game. So when it comes to safeness and damage wise, with hyper armor and very good heavy tracking, low recoveries, he is incredibly strong in that area. Couple that with his perks, Last stand, bulk up, depends on what you like to run. I personally like to run last stand because bulking up, you have to get your renown up, and sometimes if you don't have a good enough team, you don't get enough renown to generate your points. And so I like to rely on last stand because I essentially get another chance at life. Vengeful Berry and Bastion obviously are a must-have for any hero that can get those perks, and I cannot emphasize the crushing counters enough because they're really helpful when you're trying to external somebody and just try to option select them, because one, it makes it so that the opponent can't parry your crushing counters, and you can also hit the other opponent that you're aiming at, which is crazy. Couple that with his full block, which also is a really good option select and something to scare the opponent, because once someone doesn't have a bash, his offense with his full block and his defense with his full block is incredibly strong. Any hero with a full block, honestly, or defensive mechanic like that is going to be incredibly good, and so that's what gives Warlord the edge in 4v4. He's not a bad hero by any means. And one of the last things I'd probably mention is his feats. Fire Flask is OP. His second tier with Juggernaut is OP. His first feat that I would usually run with is Deadly, so every time you get a bash, it does 18 damage. All you have to do is wait 3 seconds, and you get another 18 damage bash or light attack, that's 18 damage. It's actually really helpful for Warlord because he also has chip damage with enhanced lights, and that makes him incredibly powerful in actually getting an edge against opponents who pretty much just try to block you the entire time. They can't just block you, they actively have to try to parry you. And let's not forget about his third feat. I'm forgetting what it's called. It's called Riled Up or something like that. Somebody let me know. Somebody let me know down in the comments. I appreciate that. And then fourth feat, of course, Fire Flask. I think he could be argued a little bit more boring than the rest of the heroes, but weak? Definitely not. Definitely not. Alright, now we're reaching towards the last part of the video. What are some of the ideas that I would give for Warlord's rework, or just a few tweaks here and there, because I really don't think he needs too much. He's already an incredibly strong hero with decent offense and very good defense. And so the first thing I would like to do, as I would like to do pretty much every single hero, is give them 3-hit chains. Warlord already has the capabilities to do 3-hit chains. He has 2 chain lights. He can just get into his fourth heavy attack just like that, just by slapping on the animations afterwards. Ubisoft, I know you can do this. I think a lot of people would enjoy this because 2-hit chain heroes are incredibly boring. Jormungandr, Janhu, Jang Jun, I know it makes them very strong, but I personally like to have a little bit more fun. Now that's just my personal opinion. I think that makes the game a lot more fun, just having heroes be able to attack and keep throwing attacks from different angles and different variety. I think that's why a lot of people like playing Lawbringer. As I've said before, people like throwing chains. Raider is incredibly fun in that respect. Aramusha is fun. Hitokiri is very fun. Infinite chains, all that good stuff. The next thing I would do is make it so that after zone attack, you could do a light attack or a heavy attack right afterwards, and that could be the chain heavy finisher that I think would be very helpful and beneficial for him in 4v4. I think his full block should remain unchanged, besides maybe having the headbutt variant take a little bit less stamina, because right now it takes a lot of stamina away from you. I use it personally just because it looks really cool. It really has no other value besides maybe if your opponent is slightly low on stamina, you can make him go out of stamina with that headbutt, but you're going to be very low on stamina yourself, so it's kind of a risky trade. His undodgeable heavy attack within his full block, it doesn't have undodgeable properties with the range compared to his normal zone attack. Now I think that's probably because he doesn't actually push forward and have any sort of momentum, and I think that's fair, so we could probably leave it just like that. I think his forward dodge heavy also needs a little bit better tracking. It's incredibly slow and it's not very viable at all. Honestly, I would probably say it's a detriment to his kit. Maybe make it so it's a little bit faster or just has better tracking, because it is a big read that you have to make if someone decides to dodge roll away from you. He doesn't have any good roll catchers, and once Warlord is in revenge, once you dodge roll away from him, he can't do anything about it. So maybe giving him roll catcher, allow him to feint the forward top heavy like most heroes actually. Kensei would probably benefit from this as well, or just make it faster, but most heroes that have been getting dodge roll catchers, they've been very fast, and it helps them utilize, anti-gank situations or just catching people. And if they don't have a roll catcher in this day and age, I really don't know what the heck Ubisoft is doing. Now, I don't think Warlord necessarily needs an unblockable chain heavy finisher or maybe an undodgeable chain heavy finishers. He doesn't feel like he needs it because he already is a very strong hero when it comes to being an offensive hero and defensive hero. When you take a look like our Musha, they didn't give him chain heavy finisher unblockables because they literally gave him recovery cancels, force full block after every single attack. And I pray to the Lord, the sweet Jesus of mine, baby, the sweet waifu Earth-chan and anybody, Galaxy-chan, please, if you're listening, I do not want Warlord to be able to use full block after every single recovery like Aramusha and Conquer. Please, for the love of God, please, Ubisoft, do not do this, because it would make him incredibly overtuned and very strong defensively, just like the rest of the heroes with full blocks. They're annoying to deal with. They don't play this game. I guarantee you, they don't understand how frustrating this is at even a mid-tier level. Like at high level, it's annoying, but it's kind of manageable if you have good teammates. If you don't, it's a nightmare. At low levels, it's a nightmare. Don't do it. Don't even think about it. Like, we don't need full block recoveries. It's just too good. It's just too good to be true, baby. We don't want that. I still want Warlord to be a very high skill curve hero. He has easy ways to get damage, and he's not like the hardest hero to play. I want you to be able to tell a good Warlord player from a bad Warlord player. All right, just look at my montage. Like, if you can pull that shit off, you're a good Warlord player. And also, you want to have fun, and you're freaking fantastic, and I respect your ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, do that shit, and I will salute you. That's freaking badass stuff. Going into full block into a crushing counter when they try to bait you out, or throwing out a raw heavy right afterwards when they expect you to do a light attack from a full block. That's just badass. That's just SolidSol. That's just solid shit. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, that's all I've got. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. What do you guys think of my Warlord discussion? Is it true that people just hate Warlord because of the trauma and the PTSD that they gave him from ledging and teabagging all the time? What are your experiences? What do you think of the montage? Are you still playing Warlord, and are you hoping for a better rework? If you have any better ideas, let me know. I try to keep it very simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Just so that they don't go crazy, because Ubisoft likes to put crazy ideas like giving every hero undodgeables, unblockables, chain heavy bash, chain all that crap, and full blocks and recoveries on every single thing, dodge recoveries on everything. See, we don't want that stuff, alright? We're based. So thank you for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, all that good stuff, thank you so much. And I really do appreciate each and every one of you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. More Elden Ring, For Honor, and maybe Overwatch soon in the future. So thank you for watching, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.